Hey, what's up? This is Harry Wagner from Harry's Situations, and today I want to talk to you about the accessories that I've added to my Jeep Flatfender here. These vehicles, when they came back from World War II, were farm implements. So you could get things like an auger, a plow, all sorts of different implements to go on these vehicles. They would run off the power takeoff, off the PTO. I really like that vein. I have a hard time justifying all the vehicles in my fleet, so if I can put this to work, then it makes it a little easier to justify. Stay with us and we'll talk about the modifications that I've made, the things I've added, and what's coming next. Now, as you can tell by the snow on the ground, winter has arrived here, and the home my wife and I live in is only powered by a wood stove. So we get all of our heat from wood, and in the past that wasn't a big deal. After having a baby, the house is at 70 degrees all the time and we go through a ton of wood. So to that end, I bought a wood splitter in order to split our own wood. It's really easy to source rounds where we are. Pine trees are pretty common here and people are taking them down all the time. Down in the foothills, I have an uncle, he has oak on his property, so he provided me with some oak. That burns really nice, stays nice and hot through the night. So between the two of them, we're doing great. But of course, I couldn't just leave this log splitter alone, right? I got this from my friend David Wiggins, so that name might be familiar. He is actually the person who I sourced this Flatfender from out in Elko, Nevada. Good friend of mine, and his father switched to a pellet stove, so they gave me a great deal on this log splitter. But true to Harry's Situations, I would call it my calling card at this point, that I took something that was a good deal and kept spending money on it until it is no longer either a good deal or functional. So in the case of this log splitter, I kind of painted it to match the Jeep here. These parts were red that are now green, and the biggest upgrade that I made is we have an off-road log splitter now. Hey, what's up? This is Harry Wagner from Harry's Situations, and today I want to talk to you about off-road trailers, specifically why I don't really like off-road trailers. So this is running the same tire and wheel combination that I have on the Flatfender. My friend Dylan helped me build this axle. We got press-in spindles, 5 on 5.5 hubs that match the Jeep, and then we built an axle and put it on this so that it has the same tire and wheels. The other thing that I did is it had a traditional hitch on the front with an 1 7/8" ball. I put a Pintle Hitch on the front, so I actually sleeved the front of this to accept a receiver and a Lynette ring. My dad had an old Pintle Hitch sitting around in the shop, so I bolted that up to the back of the Flatfender. It already had provisions for it. That was the easiest upgrade out of everything I'll talk about today. Now, when we put the axle on the back of this, the old spindles were on the tank that holds the hydraulic fluid. We welded a piece of box tubing onto the back of that. We wanted to be real careful with the height because this is both a horizontal and a vertical log splitter. So this pivots up, and we wanted to retain that geometry so that when it's upright, you really have to lift a lot less in that configuration, and that's my preference, and I wanted to be able to retain that. So we put the axle in such a position that when we pivot it up, none of the geometry changed. So you can see at the bottom here, this is where the old spindle attached, and then we built this all new axle that's up higher here, cut off the old attachment point. But this box tubing had to be Frenched in because when this pivots up, it wants to sit right against the tank. So we clearanced around that, and yeah, now it works great. Having a log splitter is great, but I need to get rounds home in order to cut them up with the log splitter. That's where this trailer comes in handy. I looked for Bantam trailers. These are like World War II era, appropriate to pull behind a Flatfender. They cost more than I spent on the Flatfender. They're super expensive. I had no idea. Maybe you know, I didn't. So I started looking around for alternatives. I found this old home-built wooden trailer in Reno. It was only 400 bucks, but once again, I've spent more than the initial purchase price on the trailer in order to upgrade it. So I really like the look with the old wood. I like how it's constructed, the frame. It came with a title, it came with a license plate on it, which was all great, but it had a funky beam axle with drum brakes on it, and the suspension was all cobbled together. So I yarded all of that stuff out. I got a new axle that, once again, I'm running 32-inch Nitto Trail Grapplers on. This video is actually brought to you by Nitto. If you like what we're doing here, please consider subscribing to the Driving Line channel so you don't miss any of this content in the future. Getting back to the trailer, I put 5 on 5.5 hubs so we can run the same Nitto Trail Grappler and steel wheel that are on the Flatfender, all matching. I think it looks appropriate. Now, I had to redo the suspension on this. The suspension was super soft. This had 2-inch wide springs. I don't know what they're off of. They're not trailer springs. I was able to get an add-a-leaf for a Scout from my friends at IH Parts America. That really upped the height that I needed, and it also upped the spring rate. That's really been helpful on this. It didn't have fenders on it when I got it. I ordered some fenders off of eTrailer, and when they came, they were too narrow. I took a page out of my friend Vern Simon's book on these, and I clearanced the front, and I kind of pie cut the rear so that I could open them up to get them the size that I wanted, and then I mounted them up. I painted them green to match the flat fender, but then they were too nice when I was done. So what I did was I kind of drug them on the ground in order to scrape them all up, and then I added faux patina. Normally I'm not a fan of faux patina, but I really wanted it to match the Jeep. So I did that through a process my friend Sean helped walk me through. Basically, you take vinegar and put it on this after you've exposed the bare metal, and then you put a combination of salt and hydrogen peroxide and rub it on there, and that'll get you this rusty finish in a hurry. So if you want to make your own faux patina, that's how you do it. I rewired this entire trailer. It just uses a 4-pin connector. It doesn't have any brakes on it or anything, but I want to put a Lynette ring on the front of it like I have on the log splitter. I haven't done that yet, so for the time being, it's just got the old hitch with a hole cut on the top so that I can use the Pintle Hitch. Don't recommend this for going down the road, but for what I'm using it on Forest Service roads, just collecting firewood, it seems to work fine. Now, the sides of this trailer are 14 inches high, which works out really well because the opening for our wood stove is 16 inches. So in general, if the rounds are about the same height as the trailer, I know I can fit them in the stove, which is really handy when I'm out cutting firewood. I know I throw a lot of shade at people for making modifications that I don't necessarily agree with, whether it's rooftop tents or ditch lights. But at the end of the day, I'm not making practical choices. I'm modifying things to fit my aesthetic, things that I want, even if they're not particularly practical. So you know what? New year, new me. You make the modifications you want, I'll make the ones I want, and we'll all live together in harmony. Now, what accessory should I add next to the Flatfender? A PTO-driven auger? A plow to the front? Comment below and let me know. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching this Hairy Situations video on the Driving Line channel. Driving Line has all sorts of great content creators, and they're dropping new content almost daily. You're definitely going to want to subscribe so you don't miss any of it in the future. And we'll see you out on the trail.